A Frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast Captain Slug. Its ongoing mission: to explore strange new episodes, to seek out new jokes and new references, to split infinitives that no one has split before.
Captain Slog, Stardate 41. These are the continued voyages of me, Eddie Edwards, and Mark Bench as we work our way through all of fucking Star Trek. And normally I'd say, how you doing, Mark? But it's Q Hugh, and we've got a lot to fucking get through. So
and
let's.
Frankly, I'm glad that you didn't, because I deleted Reddit this week off my phone because it's affecting my mental health.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But in order to make up for it, I now just go on Facebook more often. And I go into the comment sections of like there was fucking STV News putting out fucking stories about how the worldwide box office is really in trouble at the moment, and then every fucker from like Cambus Lang or Kings Park in Glasgow like, well, that's because they make too many remakes. And I'm just like, I literally do not have the energy to fucking even... Like, I don't argue with people online anymore, because what's the point? Like, we have already underlined the fact that nothing or no one is coming to save us. We are on borrowed time before what we have done to this planet will eventually kill us. Right? Whether that comes from inside or outside, it doesn't matter. We are fucking doomed. Right?
Yep.
There's no point. Don't fucking recycle anymore, right? Because fucking Brian Henson from fucking Coat Bridge is like, well, why don't they just make films like Indiana Jones anymore? And then you could be like, well, technically Indiana Jones was made as a film like something else. You can't fucking moan about things being remakes and reimaginings when your profile picture is a fucking Indiana Jones, you fucking twat. So to sum up, I've been fine. But yeah, Q&A.
Yeah. So let's just jump into it. Right. Okay. Because there's a lot to fucking unpack here. If you don't know, the plot of this episode is the BORG. It's the first episode with the BORG. That's it.
Counterpoint. No, it isn't.
No, yeah, because they technically the neutral zone episodes at the end of the season.
Further counterpoint.
Enterprise?
No. Further counterpoint. This isn't just a Borg episode.
Yeah.
This is quite a character-driven Q episode as well.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's a fair point.
But that doesn't fucking matter, because it's the first episode we get the Borg in.
Yeah. I was also going to point out it's the episode where Sonia Gomez turns up, an ensign who appears in 2 episodes total, and is most famous for spilling hot chocolate over Picard.
Yep.
Who I think was an attempt to recapture the O'Brien lightning in a bottle of like, what if we have like a featured ensign, give them some lines and see if people just latch onto them for no reason. And no, it didn't really work.
Well,
but she is a captain in Lower Decks.
Yeah. So. The problem with Sonia Dex. The problem with Sonia Dex.
That is a great DJ name.
is plain and simple, right? Now, I don't want to get misogynistic about this, but Sonia Gomez has the crazy eyes.
It's also not believable that a functional woman would voluntarily spend time with Geordie.
Yeah. Also, Geordie kind of, and so the first thing that happens is Selena Gomez, and Geordie are hanging out at engineering, and Gomez says thank you to the replicator, and Geordie picks her up on that for, we don't have to be pleasant to these like non-living things. Your best friend is an android, Jordy.
I've literally got in my notes, Geordie, don't say please to the replica, best friend is an android.
Yeah.
So Geordie's got a very specific hierarchy of machines as well.
And
he's an engineer. I bet he refers to the Enterprise as a lady. In a way, like not in the same of like fun way that Scotty does, in like a creepy way where you worry about, like how in the science fiction show Andromeda, there's like a hologram version of the ship that becomes flesh later on because Kevin Sorbo wanted to bang it.
Yeah.
I think like that.
I think I'd do the same. I think if I had a ship, I would refer to it as a she, and as a her, but it wouldn't be a sex or an attractive thing for me. That just seems correct.
I would feel uncomfortable being inside a man.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, I don't. It just feels, because you don't want to say it, because obviously it is like, the way that New York City herself is a character in Ghostbusters. I would feel like the ship upon which I live my entire life does get to be personified. I don't know, man. It'd be interesting to take a poll. Shall we poll our 11 listeners to find out whether they prefer if the Enterprise was male or female presenting?
We'll put a poll on Twitter, and you can let us know whether you believe the Enterprise to be male, female, trans-masc, trans-femme, or non-binary. Is that have I done all the genders? I don't know. I'm trying my best to keep up to date.
Trans masculine, so that would be someone born a woman who presents as a man, right?
But I think trans man and trans woman are also, trans masc and trans femmes are like flavors of non-binary,
right?
So I think there are 7 genders.
The fact that this doesn't. The fact that this isn't understandable to me immediately is why Trump won. No. The fact that I'm not willing to put in the base level amount of fucking time to try and understand this is why Brexit got through. But no, if you are listening and you are, what's the non-standard gender conforming?
Yeah, I'm 38. I'm getting very close to the point where I stop trying.
Yeah, please just do you, man.
Yeah, whatever you are. Anyway,
fucking
that's enough.
Great. Anyway, enough. Fucking the BORG are here.
Well, no. First of all, Picard walks down as a lovely tracking shot, goes to get on board.
It really is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
I wrote that down.
Instead of being he gets in the lift, and instead of being taken where he's going, he steps out on board shuttle 6, and it's thousands of light years from the Enterprise because Q agreed to not bother his ship ever again. And what I love about this is, first of all, Guinan realizes something's up. But nobody else on board the ship realizes anything has happened. And I would feel that the security system on board the Enterprise should be rigged that if the captain disappears without prior notice, that should raise a fucking red flag.
Yeah, I also feel that 10 forward shouldn't have a button that directly contacts the bridge. And if it does, it certainly shouldn't be on the bar.
Yeah, Guinan gets to call up and be like, "Oh, is there anything weird happening?" Later on,
we
in
need
the
some
episode,
limes.
Later on in the episode, she's looking out the window and she sees a Borg cube, and they tell her they need her to go look at the view screen. So she goes out of 10 forward, across a corridor, and into a little office that she's apparently got, so she can look at the view screen and look at a picture of the Borg cube that she can clearly see out the window.
Right, here's a question. So presumably the windows on the Enterprise are not made of glass, right?
No.
Is that safe to assume? They're probably transparent aluminium, right?
Yeah.
And I presume that the view screen on the bridge is also transparent aluminium, and it has the zoom or enhance, like all the things that they can't do in cop shows, right?
Yeah.
Could every window conceivably do that?
Possibly, because I don't know. Here's my question. I don't even know if the one on the bridge is a window. Because I would imagine
Yeah.
that you'd have the bridge fully armoured, and maybe there's like a camera outside that's feeding back.
If I recall correctly, and again, we are wrong about Star Trek far more than we are correct. I believe that the Kelvin Universe Enterprise is the first one
Right.
that has a window. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
just going to... There we go.
Okay. So yeah,
Um,
so it's possible, but I think you're right. I think there's no reason why every window could. I mean, to be fair, if I was running the Federation, that it would be in your eye, like the thing that does all your zoom and enhance. I'd like have that as I'd have a bionic eye on everyone rather than having any windows.
No, that's a terrible idea. Because
You keep a real eye, obviously. One real, one bionic. Best of both.
well, so you have a fucking eye patch situation. No, that's
Well, no, it looks
incredibly
like a normal.
confusing.
It looks like a normal eye, but it's just bionic,
Right.
like the one Thor's got.
Have you ever have you ever been in the spot where one of your eyes is functioning properly but the other one isn't? It's focused on a different thing. Because I have after some ketamine.
And I also get that frequently.
Yeah, you know how it's a nightmare. Do you know the last thing I'd want to be doing? It's capturing the flagship of the Federation of Planets.
Look, okay, I've not thought this idea through as much. I literally came up with it on the spot. Okay,
Anyway, Guinan has to go into her office to look at her artificial window rather than the window that she was quite clearly quite comfortable
Guinan knows something is up as well because apparently Guinan can detect cues.
at. She can detect hijinks. Uh-oh.
Right. What I love about this episode, one thing I love about this episode is we get the captain's not on board the ship, and then it's like we get the opening credits, and then it comes back, and it's revealed 6 hours has passed, and in that 6 hours, Picard has completely refused to have any form of conversation with Q. He has just sat there in stone-faced silence. But
Q's bounced a ball.
yeah. So the thing is, Q's been kicked out of the continuum for being a dickish, omnipotent being, which is I think their way of explaining why the universe isn't in constant chaos. Is just like, no, there's only one of the Q who's like this.
Yeah.
The rest of them are all right-ish.
But then Guinan confirms that isn't the case.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because she's like, oh, some of them are all right.
Yeah, Q and Guinan have meet each other, and Q's like, oh, I've met her before, like 200 years ago. You can't trust her. And like Guinan's like, but you can't trust Q, and Picard's like, no, that is objectively true.
Could you imagine if all of the people in the world who had all of the influence and all of the power and the ability to do basically anything could only be described with the phrase, yeah, some of them are all right? Oh no, that is the case. Yeah.
No, it's not.
None of them are all right.
None of them are all right.
Yeah, even fucking who's the latest one that they all really like? Ryan Cohen.
Yeah.
He's
still a bit.
dick.
Yeah, he's still a billionaire.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
He still will throw you into a fire just for his own petty amusement, not for even any real gain. But yeah, Q and Guinan don't get on, and Q wants to join the ship, the Curator crew, and he even says he'll like give up his powers
Yeah.
to do it. And Picard's like, well, I don't trust you, so no, and we don't need you. And Q's response to this is to accelerate the point at which the Federation would encounter the Borg by about 10 years.
Did you notice as well, just to throw this in there, that Q had given himself 4 pips?
Oh, so what? Is he?
He's a captain.
So
So
he's down for Matt.
He claims to want to help and claims to want to join Starfleet and claims to want to be a member of the ship. In reality, what he wants is the captaincy.
My big question on that is, what rank could Q conceivably arrive with that wouldn't be an insult? Because you got to remember, Wesley's on the bridge.
Yeah.
So technically, if he wants to start at the bottom, he's got to start below Wesley. I I know this is a different episode, but there's a fantastic bit later on in Star Trek where Q turns up naked on the bridge, and he's had his powers taken away, and he asks them what he should do to make them believe him. And Worf's response is simply, "Die."
Yep.
Yeah, so they all end up back in 10 Forward, and they have this discussion, and Q's response to being told that Starfleet doesn't need him is to fire them 7,000 light years. So they are 2 years away from Federation space in the Delta Quadrant, and there's a planet nearby, and all of the colonies have gone. And then a cube shows up.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Right, hear me out. In original Star Trek, the Klingons were sort of kind of brought in as like a Russia allegory. It was like it was a Cold War thing that they were trying to do with them, like constant war between these two groups.
Right.
And that works pretty well as it is.
Yeah.
And the Romulans are pretty interesting as well. There's plenty of good Star Trek bad guys out there. I don't think there is a single better bad guy for the Federation thematically than the Borg.
Oh, I agree. I actually think that the Borg might be the greatest, just villainous, unstoppable force. In all of fiction, because what they do is so terrifying to me that I can't even comprehend what it would be like. Not even just to be a Borg, but to face the Borg. I legitimately think they are the scariest thing. As just an idea and as a concept.
Fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
There's issues with how the Borg developed later on, but we're not going to get into that. In TNG in particular, they're pretty fucking fantastic.
I have a question now. I'm going to assume that everyone who's gotten this far on this podcast has at least a tertiary knowledge of what the Borg are and how the Borg operate. Right? If you don't, the Borg are a society that are essentially a coming together of organic and inorganic, right? They are essentially a machine race. They have one hive mind. When they come to a planet, this episode kind of changes things. Or it changes down the line. They come, they take all of the people there to turn into new Borg drones. But
they also do birth and grow their own baby drones. Yeah. And they're born are like organic, and they immediately put machines and technology in them.
Yeah. And so they take away your personality, everything that makes you as an individual, and you are hooked up to the collective. So the voice of every other Borg is in your head at all times. But there's nothing of you in there. You just are one of that. You are like a sheep essentially to what the Borg collective wants, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that is utterly terrifying. I thought that what you were going to ask earlier is who are the Borg supposed to represent in the real life world of geopolitics and culture. I don't really think anyone.
I agree.
But I also think that everyone. I think the best thing about the Borg is that, the closest thing you could say to the Borg is that the Borg are communists. But they're not really, because communists still have art and ideas.
It's very easy for you, as a human being, to point at whatever group you don't like and say, that's the Borg. I know some of the far right like to refer to people they argue with as like NPCs, where they have this idea that, you just use the same arguments over and over again. You just constantly call Trump a fascist. And it's like, well, yeah, because, he is. And it's like, that's the thing of so it's easy from that perspective. And I could say how you could, if you're far right, you could easily point at socialists and say, that's the Borg. They take away your individuality, blah, blah, blah. But equally, I point at a sea of people all wearing the same fucking hat. who have only one viewpoint and only one news source. It's very easy for anybody to point at a group they don't like and go, yeah, they're like the Borg.
And not to fucking weigh in on this, because obviously this is such a pointless conversation to have, because as you say, everyone has their reasons for thinking that the other people who are like them are the Borg.
Yeah.
Which is and yeah, this will get thrown back in my face, but I generally find that left-wingism is more about tolerance and inclusion, whereas right-wingism kind of just wishes that everyone was the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, there's fucking nuance to everything, alright? Don't fucking at me.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care what your politics are, as I've already established in this podcast. I hope that fucking everyone catches fire quite soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's going to happen. So.
And I'm not a fucking centrist. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's
I'll
all
take
awful.
all of fucking Elon Musk's money and redistribute it. And do you know what? I'll convince him that I've invented an invisible suit so that he walks about naked. Then I'll be like, you literally didn't even catch on that this is an actual fairy tale, fucking idiot. And then I'll get a can of 37% sugar iron brew. And I'll go to throw it at his head, and I'll turn and I'll just fucking weak it right at fucking Boris Johnson's fucking nut. And I hope it kills him.
I was going to say, if you're expecting
if not through
this,
impact, then through obvious diabetes.
I was going to say this, if you're expecting the political views of this fucking podcast to lessen at any point before there is another general election in the UK, you are.
Yeah.
It's
If you think that this podcast is ever going to listen to both sides, you are the Borg. As far as I'm concerned.
So let's talk through how the Borg appear. First of all, the spaceship's just a cube. Like every other ship's like got a right way up to be in Star Trek. So like if you see one listing at an odd angle, you know it's fucked. But they're like a cube, so they're like that. They're homogenous. Whereas like Starfleet has the whole thing of like it's all about different individuals coming. Like diversity is our strength. That's very much the message of that. Like I'm not reading too much into it. Like literal Star Trek characters have said that exact phrase to. Usually Borg. Right. So yeah, you have this like homogenized mass, but it's not just that that's terrifying. Like they turn up and it's like they send a drone over to the Enterprise and it just starts taking stuff from their computer and ignores them. So Worf shoots him, doesn't work, so he puts it all the way up to like vaporize and hits him a lot and he falls over. And then immediately another drone arrives and this one's got shields. Because the Borg adapt immediately. They blow the fuck out of a bunch of the ship and it just regrows itself, and then the phasers stop working on it. The photon torpedoes work a bit and then they stop working on it. And it's important to note the end of because there's not a lot in the way of like plot. It's more like this is what the Borg are. That this episode, the clever way that the Enterprise gets out of this situation is that Picard just apologizes to Q and asks for his help. That's how they get away from them. And there is no winning.
And I would argue something about this, about Picard's tactics. Now, I understand why he does it as a human, and in fact, I completely understand why Q is doing this entire test.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that the only way to succeed, right? You should figure out, Picard, that the only way to succeed is to fucking apologise and admit that you don't have all the answers. But Picard, through I would say a stubbornness and pride that don't really show themselves that often in that character, because it's Q specifically that he wants to beat, is willing to keep going and keep trying. Because Q, from minute one, Q is like, give me the word and we're out of here.
Yeah, I think it's something that it's acceptable to me because it's not Picard's pride in himself, or even like pride in humanity. It's his pride in what the Federation is and what the Federation stands for.
Yeah,
like it's of that belief. Like there is no problem we can't solve. But it's like even when they go, okay, fuck this, let's run away, and they turn around and run, and they go to like warp 9. I've got it written down that like Geordie gives it everything, and they get up to something like warp 9.36. No, 9.65 is top speed for the Enterprise, and the Borg cube's just gaining on them. There is nothing you can do. And Q's like, well, what? He's like talking to Picard, and Q's like, well, I guess you're just gonna run until you run out of fuel, and then you'll stop, and then they'll just, because they don't want to talk. It's like Picard tries to establish a dialogue, and like Guinan and Q both explain from different perspectives. No, they think your ship is interesting technologically. They will consume it. They will strip your computer things. They will assimilate those of you that are left. They will take the knowledge out of your brains, and you will be part of the Borg. They don't actually. Interesting point. They don't say resistance is futile in this episode.
No, I was very aware of that because resistance is futile. So I've been reading a lot of books recently specifically about turns of phrase and grammar and like how kind of interesting language conventions are built. And resistance is futile is such a fucking beautiful bit of the English language because it's so evocative. Because essentially what it means is there is nothing you can do. But there is nothing you can do is a thing that could potentially be said to you by an air steward. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. Sorry about that. Someone in a shop when you can't get a refund because you bought a PC game without checking the specs, you took it home, you installed it on its computer, and then it didn't work, and you bring it back and ask to return it, and I say, well, no, you can't return it because even though you haven't been able to play it, it's not now new, so I now can't sell that to someone else as new, can I, Mrs. Bradley in 2009 in game, right? There is nothing you can do. If I had said to her, if she had said I wanted to return this PC game, I'll say no. She'll say please, and I'll say resistance is futile. She ain't gonna keep trying. She's gonna fuck off, and I'll get to lunch 5 minutes early. But it's so evocative.
There is nothing you can do is something that other people would say about the Borg, but resistance is futile. It's because it's that thing of like they have worked out mathematically what is the shortest amount of energy they need to convey what they want to tell you.
Yeah,
and it's such a good episode. Like at one point, it just yank out a second. They got a tractor beam, and instead of trying to take the ship, they just take out a fucking like section.
Yeah,
and kill. Well, they don't kill. 18 crewmen disappear.
Yeah, they were on that bit, so they get assimilated.
And Picard's like, oh, they're dead. And it's like, oh, Picard, you
have no idea.
They would be lucky to be dead.
Yeah. Because it isn't really until Star Trek First Contact that we really... Because obviously you have TV ratings, but it isn't until Star Trek First Contact that you get to see firsthand what like a kind of Borg factory, for lack of a better term, is. But like them cutting bits off you, taking out your eyes, putting new eyes in, do all this, get all the stuff on the face, cut off the limbs. It's fucked up.
It's to me like you can have those. It's like when you get into those weird science fiction conversations you can have sometimes, like about how the xenomorphs in Alien take on some characteristics of the creature they burst out of. So, what's a sheep xenomorph would be like? When you get to the Borg, it's like, well, what would like a Klingons are stronger than normal folk. So, what would the Klingon Borg look like? Just a Borg? Just look like another Borg? Because the Borg are already better than a Klingon. Everything the Borg need them to do. Like, it's one thing I love about this is there's like the Borgs have like a thing on their arm, and it's not in the costuming department. They've clearly not done that thing of like getting the guy to ball up his fist and do that, because the guy's arm is like super long. Because why not? Like, it's already an indestructible fucking thing. It doesn't matter that it's got an extra long arm because you only use it for like that job. I like the fact as well. They don't detect any life forms, and then they beam over, and then it's like, Captain, there's fucking thousands of them.
But so why don't the Borg show up on life form scanners though? Because they are alive.
Well, so I think the reason is when they're in the pods regenerating, those biological components that would register as a life sign, they're not on. Because they don't need them, so it's wasted energy. So they don't. Or Data theorizes maybe it's because they're all one life form that doesn't register as an individual. But then equally, shouldn't it have registered as one large, terrifying life form? Because the Enterprise regularly encounters those.
Yeah. Yeah, there should be on the life form detector. There should be just like it's big.
Oh dear.
Oh shit. It's big and it's only a face, and you know what happens when we meet one of those.
O'Brien Watch.
O'Brien. So they beam across to the Borg ship, the Borg cube.
Yeah.
And they sort of mess about for a bit. They find some Borg babies, which don't ever really come back until lower decks, I don't think.
And then what I love about this is that the Borg ship doesn't have shields, really.
Yeah.
Because it's like they've never needed them, and then they invent them within 10 seconds of a phaser being fired at them.
I love that. Obviously, O'Brien on the big desk, and Picard says, "Get that team, beam that team off the cube and onto the bridge immediately." And we don't like O'Brien isn't even like a yes sir. It's just straight on it.
Yeah,
like
he knows what immediately means.
Yeah, because he knows his fucking job.
Yeah. And it's Picard as well. When the Picard doesn't word that in a calm way. He's not like, Mr. O'Brien, just if you could. He's like, no, get them back immediately. This is all gone terribly wrong.
Yeah. One thing that they do fix, if I have a criticism of the Borg, as a design,
yes,
it's that a cube is not the optimum shape for what they want to do. They would be better as a sphere. But they do become Borg spheres later on. Because as a cube, there's various parts of that structure are going to be less strong than others. But a cube doesn't have that. Sorry, a sphere doesn't have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I also quite like the fact that, so I know from Voyager that the level of tech they're running up against in the Delta Quadrant, it's just never been that big an issue.
Yeah.
That they were just like, fuck it, cubes. They are. Whoever came up with the Borg, I hope they got a fucking raise, because that's a good day of work. And they do establish that the incidents in the neutral zone in the first season, that they do establish that was the Borg's first little foray into Federation space.
Yeah.
And I just love that their first little foray in we're just doing a bit of a recon mission. How are you going to do that? Take an entire colony.
Just see what they're up to.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for fun? Oh, that sounds bad. You're getting a similar handball. The fuck kind of sport is that? Borg.
They've never encountered a race before that do ambu jitsu.
What's your favourite item for the Machippy? Hamburger. Borg.
Yeah.
Borg.
It's. I love that. So Guinan is annoying to me in this episode up until a certain point. So, because Guinan's like, oh, I can tell you this about the Borg, and she keeps things very fucking vague.
Yeah.
And then later on, she does reveal that her civilization were wiped out by the Borg, but she herself wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, Guinan's species, we don't know a lot about, except that they're immortal. They don't have a home planet. They're just around a bit. That's it. That's all we really know about them.
Yeah, because the only ones we ever really meet of them are her and Malcolm McDowell, right?
Yeah. So there's a thing about they were in the Nexus for a time.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what or why. One thing I did want to say about this episode that I do really love is that Q. Instead of doing Q's favorite little trick is just having conversations and reappearing in different spots, because it's a very easy bit of camera trickery to do, to point out that he is not.
Oh, you're about to say something that I've been dying to bring up this entire episode, and I know exactly what it is. I'm looking at it in my notes right now.
In this episode, what he decides to do instead is consistently swap positions with members of the crew. leaving the crew members in whatever position he was in. So there's a bit where he's like lazily leaning up against that weird curvy bit that has all the desks on it around the back. And Data, and then he swaps. Suddenly he's in Data's chair, and then it cuts to Data lounging lazily in the exact position and very confused by what's going on.
There's also there's a bit of I would call it special effects that I personally think like really add to it. It's just one little thing, which is that when they're in the conference room, Q is sitting like kind of leaning back on a chair.
Yeah.
And then when he teleports away, the chair keeps moving a little bit. It's just kind of swinging back and forth as if a weight has been lifted off of it. It's little things like that make everything feel really tangible.
Yeah, because
that is what would happen.
It's what we talked about in the La Royale episode, where they go through the door, but they clearly just do a full rotation, and if they'd edit it out like 5 frames, it would have looked better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little touch that really. This is okay. The quality in season 1 is terrible. The quality in season 2 has, let's put it this way, overall improved.
Yeah.
But it hasn't. That isn't because the overall quality's improved. It's improved because there's been a couple of episodes that are really good, and this is clearly one that everybody, like, I get the impression that somebody's like pitched the Borg. Like, they've had the Borg around as an idea since about season 1. They knew they wanted to do Borg at the end of season 1, but didn't because of that writer's strike weirdness that was going on. So they've had this idea. So it's something like everybody on board, like the show, has been super excited about, and they've gotten to the episode where they're going to do it, and everyone has worked their ass off to make sure this is one of the best episodes that they could possibly make.
Yeah.
Like, every little moment, every little thing is fantastic.
It's episodes like this because I personally, from what I have seen, because again, I am essentially watching this for the first time. The vast majority of episodes I've never seen, but I have gone a bit further down the line just from watching random ones. I'm watching all the Borg episodes. One thing that I really like is that this episode kind of really, it actually shows off the advantage of something that we have criticised, and everyone has criticised, which is Gene Roddenberry's rule that there should be no interpersonal conflicts. This is one of the perfect Star Trek episodes because there is essentially no character in this. There's no real character motivation, selfishness, or anything. Everyone just realizes, oh, here is a terrifying thing, and we must all be completely professional and get out of this situation. Obviously, apart from Picard, who all he had to do was apologize, but whatever. But yeah, they're just like fucking everyone on it, and we still can't beat them. That's quality writing.
There is very specifically a bit later on in the episode where Sonia Gomez is talking to Geordi, and she's like, 18 people have died. How can you like just ignore that? And like Geordi's like, because we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We
can mourn them later.
Yeah.
But we have to do this now.
And by later, he means never. Look, I've got some real issues with how the TNG era of Star Trek handles fucking mental health. There's a lot of times when people should have not been in the next episode. Like, there's a lot of episodes where like people need a week off.
What are you complaining about, Eddie? There's a counsellor on 50% of the episodes.
One thing I do love is in this episode is like Guinan clocks that Q's around first.
Yeah.
And then Deanna like walks onto the bridge. And he's like, yeah, no, there's something weird happening. And then they realise the shuttle bay is missing. But I also like Deanna's reaction to like the Borg is just like, no. Just no, you can't. There's not, no, yeah. Because Picard like tries to like open sailing frequencies to them at one point, and he's like, yeah, we're going to do this. And their basic response is, if you resist us, you will be punished.
You would though, wouldn't you? Because like it's kind of a mainstay of sci-fi, and I for a reason, like for a thematic literature reason, the Doctor is constantly trying to reason with the Daleks and the Cybermen, and they'll make a big thing about how, oh my god, they can't be reasoned with, and they're the world's ultimate end, the universe's ultimate enemy, and even my people were destroyed by them. But the fact of the matter is, the Doctor is always trying to save the fucking Daleks, right? And they're always trying to dialogue with them and maybe find that good one, whereas Picard, and you could say the same maybe about Batman and the Joker to an extent. But Picard and the Borg basically are like, right, we get one episode where they're going to try and have a parley, and then after that, fuck it, it's out. We kill them on sight.
Yeah. Or let me rephrase that. Attempt to kill them on sight.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are. They are. I don't think I was watching it and I was thinking about how I feel about the Borg is like when they first appeared. It reminds me of it's not going to come as a shock to anybody about exactly what sort of nerd I was growing up, but like the Borg appearing to me was like when Warhammer 40k had a new race that came out, like the Necrons turned up for the first time, and it's just like you're immediately like, okay, this has been worked on a lot in private, and you just get the reveal of the full product, and you're like, oh, okay, this is exciting and interesting. And the Borg is in that category where, like, the moment I first saw them, I was like, these are instantly iconic.
Yeah.
Like the cultural bleed through on the concept of the Borg is huge. Like you could say, I think you could say to any person in the world, not even a Star Trek fan, like just any human being, like you could say Klingon or Romulan or Vulcan, and they'd immediately go, oh, Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right. And
Maybe
I think
not Romulan.
But maybe not. Okay, maybe not wrong. But I think the Vulcans.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, but I think the Borg as well. This episode airs, and I would say within 3 years from this point, Borg are in that conversation of just like they are just an iconic. Like everybody like gets them as a cultural reference because it's just such a solid fucking and terrifying idea.
Yeah, it's
just
so inhuman.
Yeah,
and yet they kind of look like us. They are the perfect other. If they looked like the gonk droids from Star Wars, like we wouldn't be that terrified of them. But it's or if they looked like the Cybermen, right? But it's the fact that they leave enough of their human form in themselves, like the fact that they leave one eye and only take out the right one. That's the thing that makes us go, oh, they are the other, but they are also us, and we could become that.
Yeah,
it doesn't. So scary.
I think thematically it does a lot of the same. It hits a lot of the same cultural and like psychological touch points as like the Romero zombie.
Yeah,
where it's like it's what every human is terrified because the problem is it's human beings, we're individuals, we know we're individuals, we know all of our friends are individuals, but there's also 7 billion of us, and once you get out to a certain point your monkey brain breaks down and you just have to review everybody else as this like mass.
They've worked it out, right? Like there is a name for the number of people. I think it's something like you can only really care about 100 people. And over and above that, it's you would collapse. Like your empathy would implode in on itself if you tried to care about everyone. But there's a name for that concept. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, 100 is about the number they make.
Yeah, it's based on it's the idea they've done the experiment where if you get a group of monkeys and you put them together and you keep adding one extra monkey, and you work out what point they'll split into 2 groups.
Yeah.
And it basically with all primates, it based on the size of the brain, the group gets larger, and you scale that up for humans, and you get to it's 100 or thereabouts. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Or
but then
it's just when my cousin Emily comes into the family party. I don't have a cousin Emily. I wanted to make that joke. There is a person that I think that about in my family, but I'm not going to say the real name.
But that's part of the reason why like people get politically like, oh no, the other side doesn't count, like because they're usually outside of your circles and far enough removed. That's how that happened, and that's why the idea of just a massive unstoppable people is a terrifying concept.
Yeah.
And it has been ever since people thought their tribe was the only group of human beings that existed, and then some fuckers on horses came over the hill.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, what the fuck is that?
The Borg are they are the Brits.
Yeah.
Like they're space Brits.
There's
is what they are.
Have you ever read any Ian M. Banks science fiction?
No.
So there's a culture in that called they're called the Culture. And the famous line in the galaxy is "Don't fuck with the culture." And the culture have a group in their society called Special Circumstances. And then like there's a very specific group in that who deal with what are called out of context problems. And the way an out of context problem is defined is you are the king of your island tribe. You have successfully gotten all of the other island tribes on the nearby islands beaten. They all pay tribute to you, and as far as you're concerned, the world doesn't exist between your little group of islands. And then you wake up one day, and in the just off the shore of your island is a battleship, and that's what meeting the Borg is. Yeah. It's like you could be as advanced, and we're really used to like the Enterprise being we're the most advanced thing. We're going to turn up and make you fix your problems and show you what's better. And then they turn up and meet somebody who's not only more advanced, but is also like, your entire viewpoint is wrong. Yeah. That's not how you get to be super powerful and strong and terrifying. You get to be that way by just endlessly consuming everything in your path.
Yeah.
I think they're great.
Yeah.
Would it be the biggest insult in the world if the Borg turned up at your planet, scanned you, and just went, nah?
we should that should be a lower decks character, just someone who's really spiteful against the Borg because they don't think they're good enough. It's like me. I mean, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this podcast before, but Laura certainly has brought it up on occasion. I have a weird, unwavering hatred of the Amish, and it's because I think they're fucking smug. And they think they're better than me.
Yeah.
But her counterpoint is always, but if you think that, then it must stem from a place of you wishing that you were like them because you think that they're better than you are. Yeah. Like, given the choice, I'd maintain this lifestyle, but I don't know, man. They do seem to have it pretty easy. Like,
look, I'll say
they're
this.
not really worrying about people in fucking STV News comment sections not knowing that Scarface is a remake or something. Sorry,
Here's the thing I will say about the Amish. I'm very much of that like thing where I was like, well, maybe if we'd never invented the internet, there wouldn't be as many problems. But equally, I'm only aware of the fact there's a lot of problems I wasn't aware of because I was a straight white man.
Yeah.
And they just never happened to me. Because I remember, like, in the 90s thinking, everything's broadly fine.
Yeah.
Like, I thought progress was done. And now I look at that attitude. I look at the attitude of certain idiots. I don't want to name names, Ricky Gervais, who seem to be of the opinion that whilst every single fucking generation of human beings has progressed further than the generation before, he has had the exact fortune to be born in the exact generation where we were done.
Yeah, we sorted it, mate.
Sorry, except for like in countries where they like cook dogs. So white people are done, but other cultures obviously not as developed, and that's not racist at all.
Take whitey out of the oven. It's finished. It's ready for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, we're not done. There's always room for fucking advancement and progress. That's the fucking point. And once there isn't,
he made a point, didn't he? That was like, he shared some Twitter outrage thread, and then said that the thing about these people is that they don't seem to take on board the fact that they will just be cancelled by the next generation. It's like, Of course we will. That's why we're doing this. Yeah. Because I'm almost certainly going to say a racist thing to a cyborg. And my grandkids, should they exist, in a scenario where 10 years down the line everything wasn't on fucking fire all the time. And I'm like, right, I'll acknowledge my kids. Then one of them as a kid.
I was listening to the Cultaholic wrestling podcast, and they got onto this discussion topic of sex robots for some reason. And one of them went, no, let's not do this. This is the thing that we're going to appear like out of touch bigots for not being okay with. It's fine. You can marry a robot. That's fine. I don't want to get caught. And that's the thing. It's like, here's the thing. People who say, oh, everyone gets cancelled. No one's cancelled Dolly Parton because she's just fucking nice.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
Just be nice. I don't know how we got onto this. Also, Ricky Gervais is the Borg.
Yeah, exactly. The Borg are not. If anything, the Borg are the opposite of sex robots.
You never see a black Borg, do you? No. They homogenised in a very specific way, didn't they, Mark?
Yeah, I bet if he was on the Enterprise, he'd still be giving it, wouldn't he? I bet if Ricky Gervais was the captain of a starship and his Commander Riker, right, who I'm not going to say is Stephen Merchant, because I think that Stephen Merchant now has enough respect for himself to be like, well, I clearly have been the voice all along. No, maybe not the voice. I have clearly been the talent all along. And I think enough people are beginning to respect that I get to be out there and be on my own. Oh, look, I'm in Jojo Rabbit and Logan. So whoever his fucking second in command is, right? Ashley Jensen, Captain Gervais, Gervais to Jensen. What do you see? Oh my God, Captain! There's hundreds of them. They're Borg. Yes, but what gender? Of Borg.
As a quick point, just if you do want to just a food for thought, if you don't think Ricky Gervais is a prick, this is just a little idea that maybe a little thought experiment you can play. How comes none of Ricky's comedic collaborators have remained long-term comedic collaborators? When he started out, he was mates with Robin Innes. Robin Innes doesn't hang out with him anymore. He was mates with Stephen Merchant. Stephen Merchant doesn't hang out with him anymore. Nobody from the
barely fucking
talks to him
anymore, from what I hear.
Yeah. It's almost as if Ricky is a terrible fucking person and doing one fucking dance and having some unique observations about life in a fucking call centre.
I don't know, man.
Fucking make you special.
Obviously, if we can take this fucking show back to being supportive of both sides. I don't know, man. I'm kind of the same opinion of Ricky Gervais as I am of Joanne Rowling, which is that. Okay, I'm gonna get cancelled here, innit? Which is that we shouldn't necessarily discount literally everything they've ever done.
No.
Just because they hold one shitty opinion and are too stubborn to think about backtracking even a little bit.
I have a thing about this as well, because it's the Graham Linehan argument, which is people like to pretend that everything Graham Linehan wrote that was good was whoever he was collaborating with. And I don't think that's a helpful argument. I don't think it's helpful to say that bigots are always bigots because they were stupid and they were always stupid. I think it's far more helpful to say bigotry rots your fucking brain because you have to accept ludicrous, non-logical things. And and you can look at the great things, like if you look at the fucking plot synopsis of J.K. Rowling's latest book, she's gone off the fucking deep end.
Oh, I fully maintain that J.K. Rowling is actually, I think in years to come, and I'm not saying this to be glib, I think in years to come she will die and we will find out that she had been battling maybe something like early onset dementia or something, or like some kind of brain injury, because that's, and I'm not just saying that because I'm like, all transphobes have fucking brain injuries. Like, no, of course not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the particular way that she is going about communicating her point kind of comes off like she got kicked by a horse. I don't know, man.
All I'm going to say is it's very weird for me to say this because I loved the man's work. I am so glad that Terry Pratchett killed himself. Before we got insane dementia Terry Pratchett yelling at the blacks. That's
because I was worried where you were going with that there, because Terry Pratchett has always been on fucking board, but brain stuff takes you off board.
I
get where you're coming from.
But I just think it's far more useful just to be like, look, you can be a genius and be clever and be smart, and then you get into bigotry and you end up being a dum-dum because that's what it does. Or it turns you into the Borg. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll be, or maybe all the bigots will be right.
Could you imagine if the Borg were run by Ricky Gervais?
As they come in, they've got the extra long arms so they can do the dance. But yeah, great fucking episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
This is what TNG is. This and Measure of a Man. Season 2's not a great season, but this and Measure of a Man, if you wanted to put forward a thesis statement for what Next Generation is, it's those two episodes.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I think that's we've covered everything really, haven't we? Yeah, because like you said, there's not a lot that happens with the crew.
No.
Because it's not about the crew. It's about look, these are fucking scary.
I did write down here. Do blind people roll their eyes?
Do the Borg?
Just the one.
No, all of them. Every eye roll.
Yeah.
In sync.
It's a sound that's so loud that it can be heard in space. And it's usually comes after Geordie has said a dumb thing.
There is one thing I want to talk about in this episode that we haven't mentioned because it's fucking amazing, and it's an amazing effect. I know exactly how. So there's a bit in this where we see the Borg cube re-healing itself on the screen, and it's very clear because I'm a fan of the Evil Dead movies, so I know a lot about really cheap special effects. It's clear what they've done is they've made a section of the Borg cube out of plastic and then heated it underneath it and filmed it in reverse.
Yeah.
So it melts down and then they can have it pop back. But it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's such a cheap effect and it's used so well and it's so unnerving to see it like spring back into position. It's whoever, like I say, everybody working on this episode fucking nailed it.
Take a day off. Coming at 10:30 tomorrow.
Yeah, and I love that it ends with them getting put back where they are, Q leaving, and then like Guinan and Picard are talking, and she's just like, yeah, but they know you're here now. They're coming for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're about 2 years away.
Yeah.
In space, and they're that's 2 years, but your speed, they're faster. So.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, that's just a sword of Damocles hanging over all of TNG until the next time the Borg appear. It's great. It's brilliant. I love it. They're so good.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Right.
Cheers
Bye.
for listening. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye.